Most Australians work their whole lives chasing a lifestyle they can't define. So let's define it. From the suburban 10% to the elite 1%, this is the actual price tag of being wealthy in this country. The ATO publishes the numbers. Most of us never look. The top 10% of Australian income earners pull in more than $117,000 a year. That's just the entry ticket. $117K sounds like a lot, yeah? But in Sydney or Melbourne, once you've paid rent, groceries, and HECS, you're still sweating. So what does the 5% look like? Here's the question nobody actually asks. Is being rich about income, or is it something else entirely? Stick around, because the answer might genuinely surprise you. Let's start with income. The ATO's 2023 data puts the top 10% threshold at $117,000 gross. The top 5%, you're looking at $156,000, and we haven't touched wealth yet. Now here's where it gets interesting. The top 1% in Australia, the ATO data says you need $237,000 or more in taxable income, annually, every year, without stopping. But wait, income isn't wealth. A doctor on $300K can be broke. A plumber who bought in Parramatta in 2005 might be richer than both of them. This is where Australians get confused. The ABS measures net wealth, assets minus debt. The median Australian household net wealth sits around $600,000. Sounds good until you realize that includes the family home. Strip away the house and the average Australian family has about $150,000 in investable assets. Super, savings, shares, the lot. That's the reality behind the headline number. Here's the thing nobody tells you. In Australia, wealth is mostly accidental. It's not hustle, it's geography. If your parents owned in Sydney before 2010, they're wealthy almost by default. The Reserve Bank confirmed it. Property wealth makes up over 55% of total household assets in Australia. More than super, more than shares, more than savings, by a massive margin. So if you don't own property, you're already starting behind. And with the median Sydney house now past $1.4 million, getting into the game is genuinely harder than it's ever been. Let's talk about the 10% specifically. $117K gross. In Sydney, after tax, that's roughly $87,000 in your pocket. Rent alone averages $38,000 a year. You're burning through it fast. Groceries, petrol, childcare, internet, health insurance. Aussie households are spending an average of $98,000 per year just to live a normal life. Woolworths isn't helping. So the 10% earner is comfortable but not free. They're trapped in a high-income, high-cost cage, working hard, paying tax, watching super grow slowly. But genuinely wealthy? Not yet. The 5% threshold, $156K and above, is where you start to breathe. Mortgage becomes manageable, super contributions compound properly, and you actually have money left over at the end of the month. But the 5% isn't flying business class and retiring at 50. They're still working 50-hour weeks, still stressed about school fees, still watching the RBA rate decision like it controls their life. Because it does. Now here's the counterintuitive bit that'll mess with you. The top 1% aren't who you think they are. It's not all hedge fund managers and property developers. A huge chunk are small business owners, tradies who own their business, accountants with a client base, dentists running their own practice. The ATO data shows more than 30% of top 1% earners are self-employed. Think about that. And this is the real kicker. Many top 1% earners have massive taxable income one year and nothing the next. It's lumpy. A business sale, a bumper crop, an inheritance, not a salary. This means comparing your salary to the 1% is almost pointless. You're not comparing apples to apples. They're playing a different game entirely, and most of them didn't clock in at 9 a.m. to get there. Let's talk net worth. The top 10% of Australian households by net worth have assets over $1.9 million. The top 5% cross $3.2 million. And the top 1%? Try $9 million plus. $9 million in net worth. In Australia. That's the real 1% threshold, not income, net worth, property equity, super balances, share portfolios, business assets, the whole picture. Now super. The average 45-year-old Australian has $190,000 in superannuation. Sounds reasonable. But MoneySmart says you need $595,000 at retirement for a comfortable life. There's a gap. So here's the hard question. Are you building wealth? Or are you maintaining a lifestyle? Because those two things look identical from the outside, but they lead to completely different futures. Lifestyle maintenance looks like 2 incomes, nice car, annual Bali trip, good restaurants. Wealth building looks like same income, boring investment, zero flash, compound interest doing the work quietly. The 10% earners who actually reach the top 1% in wealth, they consistently invested before they felt ready. They maxed concessional super contributions. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. The gap between the 10% and the 1% isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's one decision, made consistently for a decade. Most people never make it. Not because they can't, because they don't. Bloody hell, right? That one lands. So let's get practical. What can an everyday Australian actually do starting today? Not theory, not consult a financial advisor. Real stuff. First, know your number. Use the ATO's income percentile tool. It's free, takes 2 minutes. Find out exactly where you sit. Most people have never done this. Do it tonight. Second, super contributions. The concessional cap is $30,000 per year. If you're not hitting it, you're leaving a tax break on the table. Every dollar in super is taxed at 15% instead of your marginal rate. Third, index funds. ASIC's MoneySmart site shows consistently that low-cost index funds outperform 85% of actively managed funds over 10 years. Set and forget. Boring. Effective. Fourth, property strategy. If you already own, great. Keep building equity. If you don't, look at regional markets. Townsville, Ballarat, Toowoomba. Entry points still exist. You just have to look. Fifth, debt is not your friend. ASIC reports the average Australian credit card debt is $3,100. That's $800 a year in interest. Doing nothing. Paying that off is an instant guaranteed return. Sixth and final, track your net worth. Not just income, not just spending. Total assets minus total debt. Every month, one spreadsheet. You can't hit a target you can't see. The ATO website is free. MoneySmart is free. MyGov is free. The information has always been there. Nobody was hiding it. Most people just never looked. That's the actual gap between 10% and 1%. The 1% didn't stumble into $9 million in net worth. They just started earlier, stayed consistent longer, and didn't let lifestyle inflation eat every pay rise. That's it. That's the whole secret. Somewhere in Australia tonight, someone on $80,000 is quietly building a $3 million future. And somewhere else, someone on $250,000 is spending every cent. Same country, same system, different choice. The number doesn't make you rich, the decision does. And the funny thing about decisions? You can make one right now, tonight. Before you close this app and forget everything you just heard, the 1% is a number, but wealth, real wealth, is waking up and knowing you're heading somewhere. Are you heading somewhere?